This has to do
with the corruption.
nakakabahala ang ganitong pag-collapse ng bridge. Hindi ka lang papatayin ng isa. Sa lahat ng mga engineer at batikan na engineer na nagdi-design ng bridge, alam niyo na agad kung ano ang mga possible reason just looking at the picture. Hindi po ako nag-conclude. This is just to give you an insight. What are the possible reasons why this bridge collapsed? And number one, imagine from 1.8 billion na design ng Japanese way back 2013, and it will cost much more than that, 1.8 billion, compared to the 800 million na design ng Filipino as per DPWH. Okay? Regardless kung may designer ang DPWH or meron siyang contractor na gagawa nito to come up with that 800 million, discretion ng DPWH. Okay? So, it's a part of their job to check and verify the design and to come up with that cost 800 million. Imagine 1 billion difference, meaning it's either over costly yung design ng Japanese or below cost yung design natin. So if we don't have much budget at that time, why not making the bridge from 12 span to 1 to 3 tight arc span, and the rest would be pre-stressed concrete deck girders as our standard design, which is proven. Being iconic of this bridge is still there. We just minimize the number of span of tied arc bridge to reduce the cost. Why? Because tied arc bridges are 30% to 50% much higher in cost than the standard design, which is our pre-stressed concrete deck girders. Number two, the claim that the dump truck is 102 tons in overall capacity, overall load, including the self-weight of the truck, which is around 12 tons to 15 tons. Okay? Ay yung mga truck driver natin, usually alam na nila yung mga capacity. So, it's between around 25 tons to 40 tons. No? Bihira na sila magbuhat yung mga usual na truck, like yung mga ganitong truck na nakikita niyo sa picture. No? Even isearch nyo sa online, nasa around 40 tons lang siya. Kahit sa mga truck driver, alam nilang impossible itong 102 tons. I know, alam din naman to ng ibang designer, ano? No comment lang kasi sila. Maaring yung nagkamali sila sa 102 tons, a simple way to verify is to count the tires of this truck. So, this dump truck has a 8 to 12 tires, as you can see in the picture. No? So, ang mga gulong, ang capacity niya, mostly around between 3 tons to 5 tons. Considering natin yung 12 tires na, nasa 8 to 12 tires kasi siya, 4 sa unahan, 1 sa hulihan, no? Pero syempre, kung equally distributed, di naman siya pwede sabihin na 8 tires, 8 yung gulong kasi may 4 pa eh. So, sige, sabihin na natin na 12 tires. 12 na gulong times 3 is nasa around 40 tons. So, 12 times 5 is 60 tons. So, nagre-range lang yung kaya ng truck is nasa 40 tons to 60 tons. Okay? Kasama na yung bigat ng truck. Beyond 60 tons, sasabog na yung gulong. Imposible yung 102 tons. Okay? Sasabog na yung gulong. Why did the bridge collapse? It should have been designed with adequate safety allowance. Usually, yung mga designer natin sa mga bridge or even kung ano man yung mga structure natin, meron tayong tinatawag na ultimate strength design sa concrete and LRFD sa steel, no? Load resistant factor design. So both ito, gumagamit tayo ng load factor. Sa madaling salita, ina-adjust natin yung kinukonsider natin na load, dinadagdagan pa natin para ma-design natin ng mas adequate safety allowance. Doon na papasok yun. So usually, ito ang design natin, 1.4 dead load and 1.6 live load. Yan yung multiplier natin, 1.4 and 1.6, meaning ini-increase natin ng 40% yung dead load or yung weight ng tulay and live load, which is yung mga dumadaan. Okay, so 60% increase sa live load, which is yung truck. Republic Act RA 8794, nakalagay doon yung tonelada na kukonsider mo sa design, which is load ng truck sa code, ang range ng ginamit ng designer is nasa 30 to 41 tons. I-multiply natin ngayon yung adjustment factor na kaya pang buhatin ng road. I-multiply natin sa 1.6. 1.6 times 30 tons to 41 tons is 48 tons to 65 tons. Yung kanina, which is considering yung gulong ng dump truck para makuha natin yung capacity, which is 40 to 60 tons, is malapit dito sa range ng 48 tons to 65 tons. Okay, between 48 to 65 tons na ultimate strength design, hindi naman dapat gamitin siya lahat. Itong load factor na to is, kaya siya may allowance, so safety, adequate allowance para sa safety ng tao, and also para sa lifespan ng bridge. No, the more na ginagamit mo yung maximum load or sumusobra ka doon sa limit na binigay ng DPWH, umiikli din yung lifespan ng bridge o yung buhay ng road. Okay, so yun ay applicable kung 1 lane. Pero kung 2 lanes siya, yung 60 to 65 tons, i-multiply mo ng 2 is nasa around 120 tons. So doon pa lang sa part na yun is napakalaki ng diferensya. Impossible na bumigay yung tulay kung isang truck na. Worst case lang na mangyari doon is pwede rin magkaroon siya ng cause ng counting failure pero hindi siya magpo-collapse katulad nung nangyari dito, no? Kasi 2 lanes ang design. Okay? Number 4, visible signs of poor workmanship are evident. For instance, insufficient welding are observed at the connections. Yung iba, kung makikita mo, parang spot welded lang siya eh. So ito dapat is full weld. And may nagsabi rin na may kulang ng bolts. Yes, at some part siguro natanggal na nung nasa baba na siguro hindi natin makita. So yun yung kailangan talagang tingnan din. Hindi natin makount kung ilang bolts talaga. That is one consideration. And dun sa connection niya is for information lang, yun talaga yung pinaka-critical niya, no? Yung connection ng tide arc at yung tide girders. Bakit? Kasi sa actual construction, mahirap din talaga siyang implement. Kaya nga mabusisi ito eh. It needs quality control. Usually ito yung mga nagiging punch list pag mga structural. Hindi siya ganun kadali na ma-perfect din yung connections. That's why we are sometimes making it over-design para at the same time, hindi man ma-connect ng maayos ng contractor, there is still allowance pa rin. And kung nakikita nyo, if I'm not mistaken, yung hangers is hindi pa niya na-achieve yung ultimate tensile strength niya. Hindi pa siya nag-yield yung bakal, no? So, usually kasi ang bakal, before siya maputol, is nag-yield muna siya. And theoretically, design siya talaga mag-fail dun sa, around dun sa bakal, o dun sa steel. Steel, sabi nga nila, solid steel. Okay? But, mostly naman na nangyayari sa actual is both ends connection yung nag-fail. Bakit? One possible reason is mahina yung connection niya sa both ends. Okay? Nakita nyo halos hindi siya matikal dun sa bakal eh. Diba? So, it is one thing to consider din. Yung pag-yield ng bakal, kung anong stresses ba yung nangyari, makikita nila doon, ito yung check nila doon, is yung haba ng solid steel. Kung may rupture doon, makikita nila kung hanggang anong stress ang naramdaman nitong bakal na to. No? Kung naramdaman niya ba yung dinesign ng designer, kung anong strength ng cable na yon, nagamit niya ba yung design na yon before mag-fail yung both ends connection. Malaking bagay yon. Hindi pwede na bibigay agad yung both ends na hindi man lang umaabot sa desired stress na maramdaman niya before it should fail. Okay? So, possible workmanship yon. Or pwedeng substandard yung ginamit na connection or substandard yung material, yung bolts. We were not sure though. It's one to consider na i-investigate. So, makikita naman yun sa mill test report ng materials. And yung mill test report, titingnan yon kasama sa forensic investigation yon, manggagaling yun sa manufacturers, no? So, nabigay din yun sa DPWH, may record sila nun. Pangalawa, during construction, i-confirm siya by material testing. Kasama din sa part nila, between contractor and DPWH, may project management yan na ipapatest yung materials. So, nandun naka-record kung pumasa ba talaga yung steel, no? Pero kung pumasa at hindi naman adequate yung material, kung ipapatesting mo ulit yan eh. Kasi minsan, alam niyo na, kahit pumasa sa testing ewan ko ha, kasi may nangyayari na pumasa sa testing pero parang pumasa ng, hindi ko alam kung pumasa talaga. Ito, reality check, no? May mga case kasi pumapasa yung materials even hindi pa natetesting. Or, okay, alam niyo na yan. Additionally, the tie girders or the main beam that's supporting the bridge deck appear to detach easily. Meaning, nagkaroon ng overstress dun sa connection between tide arc and yung tie girders or yung main supporting beam ng bridge deck. Dun sa pinaka-corner niya, no, may overstress dun sa part na yun. And syempre, hindi kinaya yung connection. No? That is one main reason na may nagpo-collapse talaga ang bridge. No? Hindi lang naman sa Pilipinas to nangyari. Maraming cases na to. Maraming ng innovation na ginawa para ma-improve yung connection ng between tide arc and yung tie girders. Na-overstress siya. Okay, so that's why nag-fail siya. Okay, ito yung possible na reason kaya nag-fail yung bridge, no? One reason is yung truck, sabihin na natin nag-overload, no? So, naramdaman din nung driver na bumigay yung isang steel solid is malala yung spacing, no? So, naka-design naman siya. But, if one steel fail, then sunod-sunod na kasi yun eh. Kung sabihin na natin, I think nasa around malapit sa middle yung bumigay, no? Di ba? So, kapag bumigay yung isa, yung katabi nun, syempre, hindi na siya design, kulang na yung suporta. So, malamang, bibigay rin yung iba. And at that part, no, na-overstress na yung tie girders dun sa connection and na-detach siya. I think easily na-detach siya. Bakit? You can investigate dun sa art kung malaki yung damage niya, no? Pero kung titingnan mo kasi sa picture, yung art is parang hindi naman siya ganon ka-stress, no? So, bimigay lang yung tie girders, hindi man lang nag-collapse, nagkaroon ng parang malaking changes in structure yung tie art, no? Parang hindi niya naramdaman yung pinaka-stress. Merong something doon, no? It needs to be investigated. The first thing na i-check nila doon, syempre yung connection, then after that, yung art. Doon sa nabanggit ko na mga connections na nag-fail, it's either yung connection niya is substandard materials or poor workmanship, no? Baka hindi na-install ng maayos or improper methodologies, no? Kasi ang construction, lalo na pag mga ganyan bridge, mahirap yung methodology niya. Pag hindi mo na implement ng maayos, no? Masasacrifice mo talaga yung quality, no? But check naman siguro ng DWH, meron naman silang mga documents about dyan. You can investigate on that. And kung may substandard materials or even kung may problema sa design, no, i-check din nila yon. Kung nagawa naman sa actual, yun yung mga kailangan nila i-consider during investigation. Wait, this is the most important part, no? Ano yung future ng bridge? What will happen to this bridge moving forward? Could it still serve its purpose? What would happen during earthquake, no? Because this structure fails, not even experiencing an earthquake and typhoon. The government, probably, they will consider strengthening or retrofitting, no? But they have to find another third party. Why? Because nagkaroon na nga siya ng third party, then na-retrofit na rin, then I don't think kung sabi nila, hindi naman siya na turnover pa. Hindi pa siya sure na napasado even sa third party, hindi pa rin siya approved, no? So, if approved na siya sa third party, may problema din yun. So, they need to find another third party. And also, for this improvement, I would recommend na dagdagan ng mga hangers or gawin itong network tied art bridge. Sa mga previous kasi, even other countries, no, marami nang nag-fail na tied art bridge. Hindi lang po ito sa atin nangyari. At dun sa mga fail na yon, is isang reason din is yung mga connections, no? Pero yung bridge nila is matagal naman bago nag-fail. Hindi naman ito ilang araw lang is nag-fail na agad. Okay? For the network tied art bridge, ginatagdagan ito ng hanger diagonally, which is to increase its redundancy. No, nagkakaroon ng more paths para sa mga load, nadidistribute yung mga forces na nararamdaman niya during magta-travel yung mga vehicle. Marami siyang load paths, load carrying elements, no? Also, kapag nag-fail yung isang steel cable or steel tendons, is hindi siya agad-agad mag-fail lahat. So, may adequate safety allowance dito. Kung mapapansin nyo rin, yung design dito is not free yung rotation, no? Yung connection between yung art and yung main structural element na malaki sa baba, no? Yung nagsusupport mismo sa art, hindi niya inaalaw yung rotation, no? Kung mapapansin nyo pa, okay lang kasi design naman yun, malaki naman siya. Kaya malaki yun, hindi siya proportional sa ilalim kasi before pa lang maramdaman yung ilalim or yung main column natin, before pa lang matransfer doon is doon pa lang sa malaking part, structural part ng element is maka-counter na siya, no? So, hindi na ganun kalakas yung impact dun sa main column. That's why kaya ganun ang design niya. Unlike kung post-tensioning yan, mas maliit yung structure niya doon sa part. Kasi yung post-tensioning is inaalaw niya mag-expand or mag-contract, no? Yun yung purpose ng post-tensioning. Kung ako ang tatanungin, mas maganda yung post-tensioning. Pero it's either way, maganda rin naman yung moment resisting dun sa part na design niya. Fix yung pag-design. Doon naman sa part na ganito yung ikot niya naman. Imagine, yung dalawang art na nakaganon, may connection siya sa gitna ng parang cross-bracing. Innovative nito is we consider 2% rule. Meaning, doon sa connection ng tied art bridge sa gitna, no, 2% lahat ng forces niya kina-counter niya. So, we need additional cross-bracing doon. Design naman talaga siya that year, no? Pero ngayon kasi, innovation ngayon is may 2% rule na dapat is yung cross-bracing niya sa pagitan ng dalawang art is masatisfy niya yung 2% rule or yung nagsusupport kapag nag-lateral earthquake na ang pinag-usapan, yun na yung pinaka-bibigay yung rotation na yun. And also, for the tie girders, hindi na ito magagawa dito. For other future projects ng DPWH, mas magandang gawin nila is post-tension yung tied art bridge. Yung tie girders, yung beam, doon sa tied art, yung connection niya is naka-post-tension. Why? Kasi ang post-tension is isa rin yung sa innovation ng tied art bridge. Kaya mapapansin nyo, marami nag-comment na may straight line yung ilalim. Straight daw, samantalang yung ibang bridge is may parang naka-curve sa ilalim. Which is, yes, also, steel beam kasi to eh. Yung pinaka main beam niya sa supporting deck ng bridge. Unless, magpapabricate ka ng steel I-beam from start, malaki siya, then going upward, magka-camber siya pataas, then at the middle part, paliit siya, no? Pero sufficient pa rin yung design. Kung tension siya, hindi siya na nagaganon. Pag post-tension ng pre-stress, concrete siya dapat, okay? So, para magkaroon ng post-tensioning between side arc and yung bridge, no? Kaya nagkakaroon ng curve sa ilalim. So, which is, kapag dumaan yung road, mababa ng konti, babalik din siya kapag lumabas. Hindi nyo na makikita masyado yung pagbalik at pagbaba at pagtaas ng bridge, no? Pero naibabalik siya at certain limit na capacity ng post-tension. Doon siya nakakatulong. Malaki ang part ng post-tensioning doon at pre-stressing doon sa ibang mga bridge natin. For the government responsibility, whether it is project handled by private consultants or private contractors, it is still the government, specifically the DPWH responsibility to check and verify before or pre-planning phase, during construction, and final inspection and final turnover. Yes, and also the safety and functionality, no? That's why kailangan talaga mas malinaw sa publiko kung kailan bubuksan siya and nakalagay na yung load limit ng kalsada. No, siguro may time lang, normal naman tayo perfecto. May mga instances na nangyayari talaga yun, no? Careful lang talaga dapat si DPWH na maisaayos niya yung mga signage and yung mga load limits, no, na ilagay niya, and also ma-encourage na i-orient yung flagman na magbabantay nung entry point dun sa bridge. Okay? And if this has to do with the corruption, na marami nagsasabi kasi about sa corruption, no, dun sa mga sinasabi ko na possible reason, no, verifying all of that, no, pwedeng mag-lead siya dun sa sinasabi niyo na corruption, no. Pero yun na muna ang unahin natin, no, technical reason muna, and kung ano ba talaga yung pinaka nangyari, and documented naman yan ng DPWH, no. So dun pa lang sa mga documents, and kung may problema dito, kung sino talaga ang nagka-problema, and possible, kung meron talagang corruption, is lalabas din siya in the picture. Kailangan lang ma-investigate talaga ito. Or, in the most difficult instances, baka alien attack. Comment your thoughts down below and I'll try to answer that. This is Engineer Jaime. Thank you.